Hello everyone, this is going to be my updated Stamina Templar build for the end of the Ascending Tides patch. I'm uploading this simply because this setup is 100 times stronger than the one I posted previously. Simply because it's a lot more reliable and has far more stat density. If you enjoy playing Templar and don't really like the idea of going for hybrid, this is going to be the build for you, and it's probably going to be best in slot on any Stamina Templar player, simply because it covers all the weaknesses you could come across when you're, for example, trying to build for damage and end up liking sustain. So this build pretty much covers everything and is pretty unbalanced. It's probably going to be a lot weaker once Living Dark gets nerfed and if they address Rallying Cry. But for now, if you want to play Templar at the end of the patch, this is going to be very fun, because this build is not fair. Okay, so the sets I'm running right now are Rallying Cry front bar, Rallying Cry back bar, with a defending sword. We're using 2H instead of sword and shield simply to get rally, which is a burst heal that we can get minor endurance from, and which is going to let us drop Honor the Dead for another skill. Okay, so on top of the defending 2H, we're using Divine Sash with 2 pieces of jewelry with spell damage enchants and Bloodthirsty traits. Bloodthirsty is best in slot for Templar. It's just going to be the most damage, and it's going to help you kill people extremely fast in open world, especially because of how well it synergizes with jabs. Okay, for the front bar we are using Deadly. Deadly is the best damage set for Templar if you're looking for something you can count on. Basically, Deadly is always up when you're attacking and has the most amount of damage for that type of set. Mechanical Acuity, which is the set we're using in my previous setup, has probably more burst since it makes all your attacks crit, but it's very unreliable because you're not always going to be able to take advantage of the uptime. Whereas on Deadly, you can turn around whenever you want, and the set is going to help you burst people down. For the weapon type, we're using Dual Wield simply because of the amount of spell damage it gives. It's going to increase your healing by a lot, and it means that you're not going to have to run a healing CP. You're going to be able to go for 2 AoE damage CPs, so your Biting Aura and Master Arms. And basically your damage increases by a lot compared to any other weapon type. The only weapon that kind of could rival this would be Lightning Staff, but it has lots of weaknesses concerning its sustain and healing, whereas Dual Wield covers it, especially because since we can use Non-Honed on the main hand and Sharpened on the offhand, we actually have pretty much the same penetration as 2H. We have roughly 1.5k lower, but we have a lot more spell damage, and also lets us run 2 enchants, so Shock Glyph on the main hand and Disease on the offhand. Those glyphs are there instead of poisons because they're gonna proc status effects on targets. Disease is gonna proc the Defiled status effect, which is basically gonna reduce your target's healing, and Shock Enchant is gonna proc Concussion, which makes target be afflicted with minor vulnerability, which is also going to increase your damage on them. For the Mythic, we're still using Malkin, which is still best in slot. We are using Magma instead of Balog, so to medium here, because Balog is a lot more. Magma is a lot more stat dense than Balog, basically because it gives you armor and regen, whereas Balog only gives you damage. So we changed that monster set, and we're of course using Gallant Chain on the chest. So we are in 5-1-1, so 5 medium, 1 heavy, 1 light. For the traits, we're in 6 divines here, and 1 reinforced on the chest piece. Alright, for abilities, we are using Camouflaged Hunter, Jabs, Caltrops, Purifying Light, Extended Ritual, Dawnbreaker of Smiting, Race Against Time, Restoring Focus, Living Dark, Resolving Vigor, Rally, and Temporal Guard. The reason we're not using Major Evasion, so Elude, is simply because I felt better using Race Against Time, simply because it first of all gives you movement speed and also gives you 10% extra crit damage. You can you're so tanky on this setup that you don't really need major evasion, although it would be completely fine. Like it would be a great buff, especially considering the meta we're in right now. But the value you get from Racing Against Time is simply bigger. You could also decide to drop Purifying Light, but I don't feel good about dropping it because your damage is going to be a lot lower. Okay, so that's that. For our CPs, we're using Biting Aura, Jealousy buff, Ironclad, Massed Arms, Plains Refuge, Sustained by Suffering, Rejuvenation, and Survival Instinct. We're using Rejuvenation simply because, as you'll see in a few seconds, we change foods, and so the magical recovery we get from this is very helpful. So for the food, we are using Trifle Pocket, simply because it's a little denser stat-wise than Lava Food Suit, because it gives more HP than Lava Food Suit gives Stam, if I'm correct. Let me check. Yep, there you go. Gives a tiny bit more, if I'm correct. Oh, actually it gives less, or whatever. So you're using this, and we are using Vampire Stage 3, which I need to proc again. Yes, pretty much it, I think. Yeah, okay, so I cannot show you the stats here, but you're gonna be... Oh wait, I also didn't show you the mundus. We're using the Lady Mundus simply because of the amount of mitigation gives. You don't really need to go for damage mundus on this build because you have 3 Bloodthirsty with over 7k spell damage, so you're gonna be fine damage wise, which is why we're going Lady, simply because that's gonna enable you to basically sit inside of a group and kill them. Alright, hopefully you enjoy the setup. If you have any feedback or questions about it, I would be glad to answer any of them in the comments. Alright, see you guys later.